Student athletes making the most of their college careers. Up next on Carpe Diem. Hello, I'm Rob Rowan and welcome to Carpe Diem. Despite the limelight and national attention being on Division I schools, many student athletes find the less strict athletic system at Division III schools to be much more appealing than their televised and overanalyzed counterparts. Today we take a look at the choices some student athletes make when they transfer from a Division I to a D3 school. Montclair State University is one of over 400 Division III schools and has developed quite a reputation in D3 athletics. Joining me to talk about the differences and similarities between the athletic programs, as well as why some student athletes are drawn to one or the other, are Holly Gera, the athletic director here at Montclair State University, and Mike Scala, Montclair State Sports Information Director. Welcome, Holly and Mike.
Thank you, Rob.
Thank you.
Yeah. Holly, I'm going to start off with you. What exactly are the differences between, say, a Division I school like, down the street, Rutgers, or a Division III school like here at Montclair State?
Well, I think the emphasis at Division I schools is often more on the spectator experience, and the emphasis at Division III schools is more on the student-athlete experience. And of course, one of the biggest differences is athletic scholarships. Here at Division III, student-athletes are paying tuition bills like all the other students, and we like to think that they're playing for the love of the sport.
And Mike, what have you noticed as kind of the perks of, say, going to a Division III school over a Division I school?
Well, I think it's just the fact that Holly said it's athletes who have a love for the game and athletes that want to have a really well-rounded experience collegiately. Division I schools, it's kind of a four-year contract that I think, and like to call it, that they enter into. So there's a lot of commitments that they have to take on, and it's 12 months a year. That's not to say Division III athletes don't, but I believe Division III athletes get the more rounded experience of not only being athletes and playing their particular sport, but they get the chance to go to class, to do well and successfully in the classroom. And most importantly, they get to experience the college campus life. They're afforded the opportunities to do those that I don't quite think that are available at Division I, not that they're not there at all, but they just get more opportunity to do. And I think a lot of athletes, when they come out of high school, they see that and they want the well-rounded experience.
Mm-hmm. So you're saying in the word student athlete, really at a Division III school, the more important word is student, as opposed to a Division I school, it would be the word athlete, of course.
Yeah, and that's not to say that there aren't student athletes at Division I schools. I just think with the pressure and the money, spectator-driven that comes along with being Division I athletes at these major institutions, it kind of takes on life itself, and the student athlete winds up doing more in their athletic work. Not they don't do academics, because they certainly do that, but I think they don't get the time to enjoy the total student experience that the regular student does at a Division I institution. Where at Division III, it's much more enjoyable to do and much more affordable for them to take on and do that role.
All right. And Holly, have you noticed that more kind of, not a relaxed atmosphere, but more kind of fun, able to do whatever they want? Not like, you know what I mean, not exactly whatever they want, but the ability to go to practice and also go out at night with their friends and, have that time to go to class as well?
Yeah, I think Division III athletes are as committed to their athletic work as Division I athletes, but the time constraints and the limitations on time in Division III allow them to have some extra time that they can really focus on studies. They can do other activities on campus if they want to be involved in student government or join a fraternity or a sorority or get involved in another activity. They can do that. They're not governed day in and day out by their sport. There's some time built in that they can be more students, as Mike said.
Mm-hmm. And since its inception in the mid-1970s, we've noticed a lot of schools have been switching to Division III, and it's actually one of the largest divisions, the largest division in the NCAA. Why do you feel that is the case?
I think college athletics in its purest form are student athletes playing sports. And I think that in Division III, we get as close to that pure ideal as you possibly can. I think in Division I, and I think if you're a sports fan, you watch some of these great games that are there. There's a lot of TV involved, there's a lot of media involved, and there's a lot of money involved. So it becomes a little bit of a different entity than the concept of a student who also plays sports.
And could you just go over the recruiting process a little bit for a Division III school?
You know, I think one of the misnomers about Division III is that there is no recruiting, but in effect, sometimes Division III recruiting is more difficult than Division I or Division II recruiting. We don't have any promises, we don't have any scholarships to offer student athletes, so we're trying to recruit them to our institution. Our coach is trying to sell them on their program, and to really let them make a decision if they have the right major, and if they think they'll have an opportunity to play in our sport. So selling our institution to a prospective student athlete is a big part of Division III recruiting.
All right, and Mike, I'm sure you talk a lot to potential athletes graduating seniors from high school. What are some incentives that you kind of tell them to sweeten the pot for them to come to a Division III school as opposed to maybe go D1 or D2?
Well, it's like, you know, I wouldn't say I'm part of the recruitment process, but having dealt with them and they know where I come from, you know, I kind of give them the broad sense picture. I've had the fortunate experience of working at Division I and Division III institutions and kind of give them what is out there, what it's like to be a Division I athlete as I experience it working with them, what the commitments they have to do. And same thing with Division III athletes. So it's kind of laying out there that again, we've kind of touched on it multiple times already, that there's a more well-rounded aspect in being a Division III athlete than there is being a Division I athlete. There's more affordable time to enjoy college life for some of these, you know, students that go on to play athletics, where again, at Division I, there's opportunity, but remember, it's a kind of a high stakes game for some of those Division I institutions, and you know, getting the most out of their program is very important for their university as well. But you know, I kind of just give them the idea of this is what it's like at Division III, this is what it's like at Division I, and you know, to make the best choice that they want to experience out of their college life, because you know, you get 4 years to do that, and you know, you want to just give them all the right ideas and let them think for themselves and come up with a conclusion of what they feel is best for them.
And do you feel like a lot of athletes who might want to go to Division I schools as they graduate from high school would actually choose a Division III school once they see what the life is compared to one or the other?
I think it's twofold. It's you know, it's a recruitment process, and you know, every high school student, you know, even student athletes want to go to Division I schools. It's the ones they see. It's what they see on television. Everyone wants to be in Michigan on a Saturday afternoon with 108,000 people. But I think they have to understand some of the Division III recruits them. And once they see that opportunity, that they have a chance to go play a sport that they love, continue that option, and also get the best experience that they can out of it. Because, you know, remember, even as the commercials say, for a very large portion of student athletes, no matter what division, they go on to careers other than athletics. So that's the main focus of any student athlete when they choose to go to a school, is what's going to be best for me after I'm done playing.
And Holly, I've noticed just speaking to quite a few student athletes here at Montclair State that you've almost developed quite a relationship with a lot of student athletes. Do you feel that a Division III school, you can do that more than you would at a Division I school?
I think so. You know, I think that we like to try to think of our athletic department as a family, and we just finished a meeting with our senior student athletes, and many of them expressed that their 4 years here have meant that they've been part of a larger family, not just their team, but as part of the athletic department. So I really think that that's something that's a plus, and I like being able to get to know the student athletes, and our facilities are small enough that I see them in the fitness center, I see them in the gym, I see them in the academic center, I see them on the field. So I think that's a great perk of being involved in Division III athletics, is you do have an opportunity to meet all these motivated, energetic, and bright young people.
And I could imagine senior day is one of the happiest yet saddest days of the year for you.
Yeah, I think that, you know, you always hate to see students go. You know, you feel like they just got here and now they're on their way out. And the good news is a lot of them come back as alums and support the program and come back to games and participate in their alumni events. So we won't miss all of them. Many of them will come back and say hello and stop in and see us.
All right. And you mentioned alumni. I know both of you are alumni of Montclair State, graduating from different programs here. How often do you notice a lot of alums coming back just to help out with the athletic programs, either in coaching positions, assistant coaching positions, maybe secretary and administrative facilities.
Do you have the numbers, Mike?
I can tell you right now, our department is full of them. Many of our staff are former, whether it's student athletes, coaches, or alums, and I think that speaks volumes as to what Montclair State has done and how it's affected us to the point where we all want to be back here because we had such a great experience. And time to time and every year we do many events with our alumni, and we get a lot of them that come back. And the reason they do that is because, again, Holly just met with our seniors. They had a great experience, and you see that more and more every day, no matter what game it is. And I have to walk from one end to the other, and I'll probably stop and talk to about 15, 20 people along the way. And I can tell you that's no matter what sport it is, because the great experience that they had here at Montclair State, they just want to come back. And again, it's reflective of us, because if you walk through our department, you'll find many of us have Montclair State ties.
And you're the sports information director here, meaning that you're in charge of the athletics website, getting news releases out and everything. Did you do a lot of that when you were here at Montclair State?
Probably pretty much so. Kind of when I wasn't going to school, when I wasn't in classes, I should say. I spent a lot of time in the very department that I now direct. So from 25 years ago when I first started here, I've been in that department, so I kind of know what it is. As a matter of fact, it forged a lot of the friendships that I had because it gave me an opportunity and immediately exposed me to about 400 friends, as I used to call them. And then along the way, I built those relationships today, and I still talk to many of them. Some of them have been out 25 years, some of them have been out 3 years. There's probably not a day that goes by that I don't run into someone who was a former student athlete here, and it even extends to even people who worked for us over those years. I see them out and about, and they're wonderful, and all they want to do is talk about all the great times they had here, when they were students themselves.
And Holly, did you do a lot with athletics while you were here as a student?
I didn't do very much. I was more involved in campus recreation and intramurals. That was sort of my niche, and my group of friends was involved. We went to a lot of games and supported the teams, and went to football games and basketball games, and enjoyed as much of campus life as we could, but I was much more involved in the campus rec end of things.
All right, and Montclair State has actually become quite a big name in D3 athletics. Recently, the softball team made it to the national tournament 3 times in a row. You have the men's lacrosse team that just won their conference, the Skyline Conference. I know the other Montclair State athletics are in the NJAC, New Jersey Athletic Conference. But what do you feel drives Montclair State to be such a powerhouse in Division III athletics, Mike?
I think first and foremost, I think it starts with the institution. Again, with Division III athletics, the institution is the most important part. So it's selling an institution which, by far and over recent years, in the last decade or so, it has just grown so much and offers so many things to students that right away when a student athlete is looking for a school, especially a Division III school, and they want to continue athletics, the first thing they see is how well and how great an institution Montclair State is. Second, now when they see a program that has been doing well itself, they want to be part of that, because once again, it comes back to the whole total package for that student athlete. So what you're seeing is over the last few years, a lot of those student athletes have chosen to come to Montclair State. Sometimes it is cyclical. This is a great time right now. And we are obviously doing the best to make sure it keeps going. But it's all starts with Montclair State University and what it has to offer. And again, we've been very fortunate over the last 2 years to get just some of the most tremendous athletes that have been in our history, not only just in this era now that we're in.
All right. Now, actually, throughout the semester, we had a chance to speak with 3 student athletes here at Montclair State who originally recruited by Division I schools, but decided that a Division III school would be a better fit for them. Here are some of their stories.
Nicosia Henry was originally drafted to Seton Hall University, but the stresses of playing for a Division I school, coupled with an incident that happened while she was there, led to her decision to transfer to Division III.
You feel like you're their product, and as much as you're using them to get a free education, they're using you as well to perform on the court.
Junior attacker Brett Mangan committed early to Wagner College in New York, where the hectic and demanding schedule of being a D1 athlete took its toll on the young athlete.
I thought Division I was going to be what I wanted. It was more of a job. Didn't really have any life outside of lacrosse, between the lifting at 6 in the morning, to practice after, to study hall right after that, practices again at night. You kind of had no time to do anything that you wanted to do.
Women's lacrosse player Tierney Conlon committed to Duquesne University before her junior year of high school, but after making the transition to Division I athletics, the intense pressure of playing at that level almost made her quit the sport she grew up loving.
It was honestly really stressful. I only was there for fall ball, and even just going to practice, I was always nervous and I was just always stressed out. It was really mentally taxing.
Despite Division III being classified as a step down in the NCAA, these student athletes found no differences in the athleticism of games.
The level of competitiveness is honestly the same here as it is Division I, which is what I wanted. I wanted to play at a competitive level. So I think that just having less pressure, for me at least as an athlete, allows me to perform better.
There's going to be differences at every level. Might be a little slower. For the most part, it's pretty much the same. Guys are a little bigger in D1. Yeah, I'd just say the size is probably the biggest difference.
Your average 6 foot for Division III is considered your senior, but your average 6 foot in Division I is considered, your wing or your guard.
The biggest reason the student athletes gave for leaving Division I was their highly scheduled time at school, making being an athlete feel more like a job than anything.
Really, everything's just so structured. Can't take any class past this time, although it's urged not to here due to practice times. If you're really interested in a course, you really want to take it and want to pursue it, you're more than welcome to.
Division I, everything was on a schedule, so if it didn't fit in your schedule, you couldn't make it, but Division III helped with the flexibility of forming it around your schedule, which was a lot easier.
And I actually felt more stress coming from lacrosse than I did from school. Division III does a really good job of balancing the time. There is a good break between fall and spring seasons, which I think mentally everybody needs.
You're working very hard and you're not feeling like you're free enough to be, your own self or play your own game. So anything you do, you feel like you're trapped.
The added freedoms of playing Division III athletics allow the student athletes to have a much more well-rounded college experience.
You have a little more free time to relax, free time to study, do some other things that you love to do, rather than lacrosse school.
It's less stressful, it's more fun, still competing, and it's just a better fit for me.
I actually felt more like a student athlete here, rather than I did at Division I.
As we saw from this video, a lot of student athletes transfer from Division I to Division III. Have you noticed other athletes, other than the 3 we saw in this video, that have done so here?
I'd say probably over the course of the year, we had several. And I think for the reasons that were stated in the piece, most of them feel that, it's such a strong time commitment. And again, I heard the phrase so much, everything is structured, everything is scheduled. From the time they get up to class, to practice, to workouts, there isn't that time to be a student. So again, they get that opportunity here. And again, doesn't mean that we're at Division III, you're lax at anything. We don't practice hard, we don't go to the classrooms hard, we don't work out as hard. But I think there's just more time for them to be students, which again is so valuable because I said before, and I'll say it again, they're going to go on and do something after athletics. 99% go on to do something else other than play sports. So it's so important that they gain those experiences in life that it's not just sport, school, workout, sport, school, workout, time and time again.
Right. And Holly, we've noticed a lot of great student athletes here, even that haven't transferred from Division I, but probably had a couple Division I schools look at them. Athletes I can name right now, Melissa Tobey, Alex Hill, who's probably one of the best pitchers that this school's ever seen. Have you noticed a lot of athletes like that might have looked at Division I school but wanted to go to a Division III instead?
Yeah, I think we've had our share. I think that a student is hopefully looking for the right fit for them. I think sometimes students who may be on the edge or verge of being Division I student athletes might feel that they'll have more opportunities to play and succeed at a Division III program, or if their priorities are a little bit different, might like the idea of coming to an institution and being a student athlete and having options to do other things as well, pursue their majors, pursue other things. So yeah, I think we've had our fair share, and it's always great when you can get a student who has Division I quality athletic experience, and hopefully they find that this is a good match for them and a good spot for them to be.
And Mike, I've noticed a lot of websites pop up, d3athletics.com, D3 Hoops, which is a big one for basketball, and even the NCAA website. It seems like the Division III section is, you know, just as well maintained as the Division I. Have you noticed a lot more attention coming to Division III athletics in terms of media?
Oh, you know, absolutely. I think there is. You know, there's more Division III events that are actually televised. There's been a stronger to make the presence felt, whether it's through webcasting or anything, because I think people realize that it's a very well-run sport. You know, I could go back years and years of being involved here at Montclair State, and when I would go out and talk to people and they say, well, you're Division III, they used to think it was, you know, maybe just a little bit above high school standards. And believe me, as someone who grew up that way, you used to think that way too. But you know, once I watched this level, you realize it's very talented. There are some tremendous athletes out here, and so the opportunity to watch them play and people sit down and more that have gotten and discovered Division III realize that, hey, this game is really good, no matter what the sport is. And these athletes are tremendous, and they're playing for a love of it. So maybe that adds a little more passion to it. But more people have realized that Division III is a great thing to watch. It's not just, you know, 2 steps below Division I or you know, a step below Division II. It's something to watch, and more people discovered that it's a great thing to see.
And Holly, especially in recent years, have you noticed a lot more media outlets coming to you, wanting interviews with your athletes, wanting interviews, say, with you even? You
know, I think it's, as Mike said, sometimes it's cyclical, and I think we've seen bursts over the years, and recently, yes, we've had a lot of interest. A lot of the university outlets have been interested in talking with student athletes and covering us, and Mike certainly handles all of those inquiries, but it's nice, especially women's basketball going to the Final Four this year, got a lot of additional media attention that we're not typically used to seeing during our regular season or sort of day in and day out. So I think as the teams make it further into the tournaments, I think there's certainly more interest.
And actually, you noticed you mentioned the basketball team going to the Final Four. I was watching, actually, Bruce Beck from Channel 4 right here in the New York area was here to do some interviews with Melissa Toby. Can you talk about that a little bit, what that process was? Or Mike, if you know, you set it up more?
Mike, I'll let you take that one.
Yeah, I mean, it you know, it was simple of again, like Holly said, when you go deep into the tournament, obviously, you know, more people are interested as the deeper you go. And so when we were going to the Final Four, it obviously hits people that, hey, this is something special going on. So it was great to have someone like Bruce come out to give our athletes an opportunity to display themselves and showcase themselves on national TV. As a matter of fact, there was several people who called once that aired and subsequently aired the night we played and the night after. You know, the exposure of it was tremendous. Again, not only for our program, our athletes, our university, and again, in general in Division III, the interest has grown because of that. I mean, it's the largest division, you know, makeup of schools in the NCAA. So when you have 400 schools, you know, if you kind of start to do the math times the athletes, times the parents, times the friends, it's a lot of people out there, and a lot of people that are very interested about it. Again, that's why you see more and more Division III sites devoted, because people realize, like, there's something good out here, and now it's finally getting the attention that, you know, I won't say it always had deserved, but more and more people are now focused on it.
And throughout the show, we've been talking about the differences between Division I and Division III in terms of media coverage, in terms of scholarships, athletes, the athlete schedules. But really, we haven't talked about Division II at all. So why is it that it's just not on people's radars, Division II? It seems like there's Division I, everyone knows it because they watch it on TV, and Division III because, you know, it's more of a local sport time of thing. Like, a lot of our athletes are, of course, from New Jersey, being a New Jersey institution, but why do you not hear a lot about Division II?
I think you probably take that administratively.
You know, Division II in this part of the country is not as prevalent as it is in other parts of the country. So while we don't see very much of a Division II presence here, I think in other parts there is more of a presence. You know, Division I gets a lot of attention because it's the big division and it's got a lot of the media attention. Division III gets a lot of attention because there's a lot of us. Division II is the smallest of the divisions and is sort of a hybrid between offering some scholarship money, but not to the extent that Division I might offer it, and generally having less large of a platform than Division I or Division III. So I think if we were in a couple of other parts of the country, we might see a larger Division II presence. Here in this part of the country, it's not as big.
Actually, this past summer, I got the opportunity to cover the NCAA softball tournament, where our team made it to the Final 8, actually, down in Tyler, Texas. And I've noticed a lot with especially women's athletes or women's sports here on campus that they kind of excel over the men's. Not saying that our men's teams aren't as good, but why is that it seems that the female athletes always seem to be the better teams at this school?
Well, you know, I don't know that historically we would say that they've always been the better teams. I think all of our sports have had some good runs. In recent past, many of our women's teams have done very well. I think Mike said it earlier in terms of success. Part of it is our school that we have to sell. I think a lot of it is people. And I think trying to hire the right coaches and coaches trying to recruit the right student athletes to put it all together. I think the people resources are most important means of becoming successful. And I think things do go in cycles. And I think that right now we've had some really good success on the women's side as well as the men's side. Our men's soccer team has been extremely successful over the past, they're looking at their 10th, I think, appearance potentially this fall. So I think that it's the people that kind of create the synergy that allows the student athletes to be successful.
And both of you are extremely busy through all the sports and everything. I know because just trying to get you for this interview was a little tough. But how would your jobs be different at, say, a Division I school? Was it, you know, you're negotiating more TV deals or anything? How would your jobs be different at that level?
I mean,
can go
I
first,
just
Mike,
know
if you
that I just know that being involved at that level, you know, I had the fortunate experience again of working in the Metro Atlantic Athletic Conference for 2 years, which was a great experience, and then for 2 years at Monmouth. If there's one thing I can say about it is I had less interaction with student athletes because, again, the time commitment. You know, there's a good chance I can walk out of my office and I'll run into student athletes, whether I'm walking by the athletic training room, whether I'm walking by the fitness center. There's athletes there to talk to. I see them on campus. I see them, even people working on this project right now. You know, at Division I, again, we go back to what was said in the piece when we said earlier, the time commitment. So a lot of times I would only see those athletes if I walked into practice or when I walked in on game day. So it's definitely the difference between that is the interaction that you have with student athletes, and sometimes even I say with administrators. You know.
Yeah, thank you. Well, I'd like to thank you both for being here and talking with us. And if you'd like more information about this or any other episode of Carpe Diem, you can write to us at the email address on your screen, carpediem@mail.montclair.edu, or call us at 973-655-5158. I'm Rob Rowan. From all of us here at Carpe Diem, thanks for watching.